Hey guys, I'm Hannah Cox with BASEDPolitics, back with my show, Copaganda. I know it's been a minute since I brought you one of these episodes, but I had to pop back in and discuss this recent interaction country star Zach Bryan had with police in Oklahoma. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this episode, and don't forget to share it around as well. You can also watch older videos of my series Copaganda on my playlist here. This interaction took place in September of last year, and it was actually shortly after another run-in Zach Bryan had with police. I find this interesting because for those of you who don't know, I actually began my career working in Nashville's country music scene. I also then spent several years of my career working on criminal justice reform, overturning the death penalty in 3 states, and I continue to care a lot about policing issues in this country. So this interaction is interesting to me on multiple levels. So I want to actually talk about this case from both angles. From the normal perspective I give on my series Copaganda about why the criminal justice system is broken and particularly why policing is problematic, but also with a lens on the country music industry and how much its attitude towards policing has changed as well. Let's roll the first clip.
Hello. Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, Officer Kevin Vertigers, please. Got you going 68 and a 50.
Okay.
You have your license and insurance?
Sounds good, yeah.
You still live off 8th Street in Tulsa?
No, sir.
Okay. You have like your registration on you?
I was looking for it. I can't find it.
Your registration would be on paper.
I know. I was looking for it. I can't find
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
it. Do you need the insurance or the registration?
Both if you have it. What's your current address?
I'm not really comfortable sharing that.
You have to.
Okay. I'm not comfortable sharing that.
Okay, so either you can give me the information that I need for my ticket I'm going to give you, or you could go to jail. So which one would you like to do?
Because I'm not going to give you my address?
Yeah, it's called obstruction.
Okay, I'm going to call my lawyer real fast and see if I have to.
Okay. Open up your door.
I just moved into my new house. I don't know my address.
Put your coffee cup inside the truck.
Oh, shit. I can't wait to do this, man.
Go ahead and go back to the front of my car.
One sec.
Go back to the front of my car. Okay.
Are you really arresting me?
Put your hands behind your back.
Are you really arresting me right now? No, are you really arresting me?
Put your hands behind your back. If you fight, you're going to go to jail.
This is crazy.
What's crazy is you're not giving me the information that I need.
Let's do this. Let's go.
Now let's go to the front of my car. Okay, so now, because we're sitting on the side of the road, I'm not going to sit here and go all this back and forth stuff. Are you going to give me the information I need?
I don't know the address, sir.
Okay, so why didn't you just say that?
Because I don't think it's any of your business where I live. I'm a famous musician. I don't want people to know where I live.
Okay, sir. Listen, I'm only using this information for a ticket that I was
I have
already
handcuffs on me right now, sir. You can take me to jail. I'm not doing this.
Central, I got one detained. Okay, so you want to go to jail for?
I don't want to go to jail, sir. This is just insane.
I pulled you over for speeding, man. It's a speeding ticket.
Sounds great. I didn't want to share with you where I lived because I'm famous and I don't want people fucking sneaking onto my property.
Why would I? You can give me the address to whatever you want, man.
Okay, then 8th Street on my address.
Okay, that's all I was asking you. I asked if it was your current address, and you said no.
All right, sounds good.
I don't know why we had to go through all this.
I don't fucking either.
You handed me your ID, right?
No, I did, sir.
You sure did.
Hey, stay in there. Stay in there, buddy. Stay in there, buddy.
Here, let me roll up your window.
Please. My fucking dog got shot.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, stay, buddy. Stay in there, please.
Man, you're from Oolagah.
No shit.
So, I just went to your concert. You support law enforcement, right?
Of course I do. I don't support this shit, though. This is crazy.
Just have a seat on my push bar real quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll pause there before showing you the rest of the video because I already have so much to say about this. He's pulled over for a normal speeding infraction and it very quickly escalates. Like within about 2.5 minutes of the interaction beginning, he is in handcuffs outside of his car. All because he wouldn't or couldn't give the cop his actual address. Now, I want to differentiate here and be clear that there are the legal things you have to do when you are in these kinds of interactions with the police, and then there are the smart things to do. I wanted to double check myself on what that line is, so I went to the internet and here's what I found. There is no constitutional bar which prevents an officer from asking a passenger in an automobile for identification. Multiple courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court and the Georgia Supreme Court, where I live, have ruled that attempting to identify the occupants of an automobile is within an officer's prerogatives in order to assure the officer's safety. A passenger is not required to give identification in response to that request. However, refusal to provide identification may allow the officer to expand the stop in order to determine whether that passenger or passengers pose a danger to their safety during the traffic stop. I also found this rather infuriatingly worded language from the Burke County Sheriff's Office on what one should do when stopped for a traffic violation by police. And they say, keep your license, registration, and proof of insurance close by and be prepared to present them to the officer upon request. Be courteous, stay calm, and don't complain. Don't complain as we shake you down and violate your rights, you little peasant. Please, sir, can I have some more? Keep your hands empty and in plain sight, such as on the steering wheel, so that the officer can see them at all times. Never touch an officer or resist them in the legal performance of their duties. If you feel that you've been mistreated, speak with a supervisor or air your grievance in court where they definitely won't care once the stop is over. The officer does not have to initially inform you the reason to stop prior to requiring that you provide the necessary documents such as your license, registration, and insurance. The officer may order you as well as any passengers from the vehicle at any time during the lawful stop. You have no right to see a supervisor or anyone else prior to complying with the lawful request of the officer. Again, this is Georgia state law, but most states are pretty similar in this, and they say that passengers in a stopped vehicle who are detained by the stop are not suspected of any violation or other criminal activity may be asked for identification by an officer. However, the officer may not convey any message that a response is required. So basically, you do have to show them your identification, your registration, and your insurance, but you don't have to speak to them or provide additional information, which is what this cop was actually asking of Zach Bryan. According to the ACLU, which say what you want about them, they are still the gold standard on civil liberties. They say both drivers and passengers have the right to remain silent. But again, there's a line between what you can do and what you should probably do to avoid further issues when dealing with police. So I'll go back to the sheriff's department, and they go on to say that although an officer may not take the passenger's mere refusal to answer as providing reasonable suspicion of other criminal activity, the refusal may lead the officer to take additional safety precautions and or to conclude that the passenger is in violation of other statutes. Once an officer develops reasonable articulable suspicion to believe that a passenger is engaged in criminal activity, they may detain him or her and request identification. They go on to note that a person is guilty of obstructing a law enforcement officer, which is what this cop accuses Zach Bryan of, if the person willfully hinders, delays, or obstructs any law enforcement officer in the discharge of his or her official duties. So basically, it's kind of a catch-22. You don't have to talk to police. You don't have to provide them with any further documentation other than your ID, your insurance, and your registration. But if you refuse to do so, they can decide that they suspect you of a crime, even though they don't have to have literally any other evidence to back that up. And they can detain you or arrest you and even charge you with obstruction, which is again what this officer threatens. And of course, they say they do all of this to protect their own safety, right? They claim that it is so dangerous for police to be in these interactions when they're pulling people over. They have no idea what they're walking up to, and therefore they absolutely need to be able to twist and bend the Constitution until it's unrecognizable just to ensure that you're not a threat. When in reality, they're the threat. My heart was racing so fast throughout this video when I realized his dog was in the car. Friendly reminder, I've dug into this before on this series, but police kill about 10,000 pets every year. And that's like them directly killing it. This dog was in danger of jumping out the window onto the highway. I just don't buy the safety excuse from police. And the reason for that is it is their choice to go out road pirating looking for trouble. The reality is police solve very few actual violent crimes every year. The FBI, which does far better than most police jurisdictions, only solves about 60% or fewer of homicides every year. And by solves, I don't mean that they actually catch the person or convict them. I mean that they can say they kind of loosely think they know who did it in about that percentage of cases. It gets even worse for things like rape, which is well below 30%, or for assault, robbery, property crimes. It just keeps going down and down and down in percentages. And that's because police are using the bulk of their resources and their time to do stuff like this, which is going out looking for minor infractions from citizens where they can ultimately charge them money for non-violent actions, thus enriching their departments and the state without actually really putting themselves in danger. Just as a quick reminder, being a police officer is not even in the top 10 most dangerous jobs in this country. Like, this is a sham. And it's very, very evident in this video that this cop at no point believes he's in actual danger from Zach Bryan. Instead, it is the mere pushing back on his authority and refusing to give him a piece of information that he wants. For what reason? Doesn't appear to be any, because by the way, he goes on to say to Zach Bryan, you could have just given me any address. He already had his license. There was no reason for him to need this person's address if all he's doing is giving him a ticket for speeding. What he's really doing is fishing for more information and trying to look for anything else he could potentially pin on this person, talking back to him or refusing to give him personal information amongst those items. You have a Fourth Amendment right to privacy. You wouldn't know that these days by the way that it has been gutted by the courts and by legislatures, pretty much beginning with the implementation of the war on drugs, which they have used to absolutely gut the Constitution in a number of ways, but especially your right to privacy. And in fact, the police officer escalates the situation over this mere refusal, putting both himself and Zach Bryan and his dog in far more danger than they would have been had police never entered the scene, where again, he was going a couple miles over the speed limit, which is arbitrarily set to begin with. Having worked with many celebrities throughout my life, I have to say it is not that weird that he doesn't know his address or have his documents. Most of the time when I've been around artists, whether it be on red carpets or at radio remotes, any kind of actual public event that they're at, they have a manager or an assistant who is literally carrying all of their passes and documents for them. These are some of the most helpless people you will ever meet. I am not exaggerating on that front. Like, I feel quite confident the majority of the artists that I worked with and for would not have known how to board a plane without their assistant. He's not being disrespectful. He's very clearly trying to get the information the cop is looking for. He's on his phone. Is he doing the protocol that I would do if your main goal is to not get shot by a cop in this moment, which would be turning off your car, keeping your hands visible, making direct eye contact, and thoroughly explaining where your things are or what you need to do to acquire them? No. But again, it shouldn't be incumbent on citizens to do everything perfect with police and have to de-escalate them so that they are not put in danger by cops. That should go the other way around. And while Zach Bryan got a lot of criticism for using his celebrity in this encounter, I want to point out that he actually doesn't mention it for quite some time. It's not until he's outside the car being cuffed and being threatened with jail that he mentions the reason he doesn't want to give his address is because he is famous and doesn't want it to be public. I think that point is somewhat valid. I want to be clear that police, when they are wearing their body cameras, which they often will turn them off, still own the record of that body camera footage and have a lot of say over what becomes public or not in the vast majority of states, which is a huge problem. And one reason body cameras have not been as effective at cutting down on police brutality as we might have expected, and that's because they get to still control the narrative. So were Zach Bryan to have given his actual address, the likelihood that he could have insisted police keep that private is pretty high. But on the other hand, police are often punitive, they make stupid mistakes, and there's no guarantee of that. And even on this video, we see the officer flashing his ID on camera a good bit. Now, I'm not one of those like eagle eye internet people, but I assume some of you are, and I'm guessing there's probably some basic information on there that people could get off of it that they don't seem to have taken precaution to cover up. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one, actually. The thing I actually did find annoying about this entire interaction is first the cop pretending that he has no idea who Zach Bryan is and then admitting he was at his concert recently. Secondly, it's how the cop's demeanor towards Zach Bryan changes once he gets this information. He goes from being pretty aggressive, antagonistic, and really escalating the interaction to completely changing his tune. But also he makes a note here that I want to hone in on where he says, "You support law enforcement, right?" And Zach Bryan readily replies, yes. Having worked in country music, I can tell you that it is a staple to bootlick these days. Artists regularly give shout outs to police at their concerts and the media. Like, it is a Back the Blue branded industry. And that is 100% because they know that that's where the majority of their fans are. Most people who listen to country music are more on the right Republican side. They tend to live in redder, more rural areas, and they tend to have a knee-jerk support for authority, including police. And while I get the urge to simp for your base and get more money, at some point, once you have power and prominence, it actually is incumbent on you to use that in order to push back against oppression. And that's what I have an issue with here. It is very clear from this interaction and the one that Zach Bryan went through previously that he is now well aware of the problems with policing. And he's obviously very agitated when the boot is coming down on his throat. But unlike the vast majority of people, Zach Bryan has the authority and the power to actually push back on this cop meaningfully and get away with it. And this is in such stark opposition to what country music stars used to be like. Back in the day when country music was actually good, we had the outlaws. People like Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard who used their position and their power to call out inequities in the justice system, and they also used their music to draw attention to these problems. Music is a very powerful tool in fighting back against oppression. It's deeply emotionally compelling. It's memorable. And musicians and other artists have an ability to use their craft to make people pay attention to things that would otherwise fly under the radar. But Zach Bryan and many of his country counterparts are doing the exact opposite of that these days. So while I think he's mostly in the right in this interaction, I can't say I feel all that sorry for him. Let's roll a little bit more of this footage.
And then he didn't want to give me any of his information for his address or anything. So I had him step out, and I was going to detain him. He tried to buck up a little bit, tried to press record on his phone. Just so happens to be Zach Bryan. So, anyways, I'm going to...
What you just said, is it true?
Do what?
What you just said, is it true?
What did I say?
I didn't try to buck up to you. He asked where I lived. I said I didn't feel comfortable
please
sharing
don't
that
step in
with
the
him.
road. Please don't step
He
in
asked
the road.
why. I
If
said
you
I'm
want
a
to talk,
famous
we'll go over here and
musician.
talk.
And he said he's going to bring me to
listen,
jail.
man.
I can't fucking wait. Let's do this. Come on.
Listen, dude, here's the deal.
No, I can't wait. I just need my phone.
Listen, just because you're a famous musician doesn't mean you have
That's
that
why I'm saying I do
deny
not care. You
information.
can give me a ticket or you can take me to
Code
jail.
4.
You can do one of the two things. Give me a ticket or take me to jail.
Okay.
Please.
All right.
You did not get out, or you code 4.
No.
You just told him a lie.
When I had my hand on your back, I felt you press.
You said I bucked up to you.
When I have my hand on your back.
Out of the truck, and then you fucking put your hands on me and arrested me. That's
No,
what
you're
happened.
being detained right now.
Okay.
Victor 11, Paul 33, 1090.
Code 4.
Copy, code 4.
You gonna stay on me?
I don't know what's going on right now. I just got here back.
Here's the deal, man. Are you gonna act cool with me? I've been trying to be cool.
You're not cool with me.
I've been trying to act cool with you.
I'm
I
not
told
gonna
you I'd
act-
stop you for
did
a.
not act cool with me.
Okay.
I gave you a valid reason why I didn't give you my address. Is what I did.
Let me do this.
I said I'm a famous
Now that I got,
musician, I didn't feel comfortable
now that I got
sharing
my
it.
partner here, let me take you out of handcuffs. You want to try
You
to
don't
start
have
over?
to. You don't have to. I will go to jail in these handcuffs. I promise.
Really don't want to take you, Jill. Let loose of your
can, bro.
hands. Let loose of your hands so I can take these things off. Listen, dude. Right now, I'm going to go finish my paperwork. I'm going to cut you loose, okay? It's a simple traffic violation. I'm not trying to take you to jail for a simple traffic violation. To be real with
course
you,
you're
listen, man.
That would be
I'm one
silly.
guy. I'm one guy on the side of the road, okay? I have no idea who you are. You're in a hat. I don't readily
I
recognize.
wasn't assuming you did.
Okay. Well, you said
Which
you're.
is what's wrong about it. I'm not assuming you recognized who I was.
Okay.
You stopped me. You said, where do I live? I said, I don't know. Or I didn't say I don't know. I said, I don't feel comfortable sharing that with you.
I got you.
Because of who I am.
I
Then
can
you
see.
bucked up. Then you bucked up. You said, you can either take me to jail or I can tell you where I live.
It's called
I said,
obstruction.
I don't feel, sounds good. I got my coffee out of the truck, and then you said, put your coffee up. I got out of the truck, and I said, what's going on?
Until I figure out
you
what
turned
the
me
whole-
around and you put
Right.
handcuffs on me.
So until I
Which
figure
I
out.
understand, man. I know cops. I get it. I understand. What you
Okay.
did was wrong.
Okay. Well,
What you
until
did was
until
wrong.
I figured out
Sounds
your
good.
identity and
Yeah.
everything else, man, just being detained.
I love the minute that there's another cop on the scene, Zach Bryan is like tattletaling on the original cop to him, and the cop's like, no, I didn't do that. No, that's not what happened. Again, his entire demeanor flips as soon as he realizes who Zach Bryan is. And while he says that he did all of this so he could make sure he knew his identity, again, he had his driver's license the entire time. There was never a problem with him refusing to say who he was. He just didn't want to give his personal information as far as his updated address went. And based on my research, he had every right to do that or not say anything else at all to this cop. And while I do think it is so hypocritical that Zach Bryan can get away with speaking to a cop like this and pushing back, it is nice to hear it called out. As he says, I wasn't assuming you knew who I was at the beginning. What you were doing was still wrong. There was no reason to think this person was a threat or to escalate over this issue. Notice also that the cop says he tried to buck up to him and record him as if these are somehow huge infractions. Police will use absolutely anything to say that you've done something wrong, say that you're obstructing them, and ultimately take you to jail. And I really do think that's probably where this would have gone had Zach Bryan not been a famous person. But for the record, you are always allowed to record the police. That is a free speech issue, and it is well within your best interest to do so. Secondarily, bucking up to a cop, I think that means talking back to him, is also well within your free speech rights. I'm not saying it's smart, but I am saying we should have a system where pushing back on police verbally is not treated like a crime. They work for us, not the other way around, and they need to be reminded of that. Let's roll this last clip.
I'm just going to give you a warning, okay?
Sounds good.
So here's the deal, man. I don't make a habit out of slamming people against cars. Like I said, I'm by myself. He just happened to be close. Ain't no backup out here for me.
I know, I was just revved up. You got me out of the car. I was like, oh.
I'm trying to catch bad guys out here. I got you speeding. It was just going to be a normal speeding ticket. Normally, people don't refuse their information to me. When they start refusing information to me, I don't recognize you from Adam. I'm out here on a dark roadway, okay?
I understand.
So I'm trying to treat you like a jerk, okay? So, sorry we got off on the wrong foot, man.
It's all good,
brother.
Take it easy, brother.
All right.
Like, dude, you are not trying to catch bad guys. Shut up. If you were, you'd get back to your desk and start sorting through the tons of rape kits I'm sure your department has backlogged as we're speaking. What you're trying to do is shake people down for tax revenue and finding some way to justify your sorry excuse for a job to yourself. Nobody believes that you are on the side of that road for public safety issues except for you. But the fact that he then apologizes just tells you everything. If he truly at any point thought that he was in danger, or that there was any chance he was dealing with a bad guy, he wouldn't be apologizing, and he wouldn't have backed down once the other cop showed up. He wouldn't have changed his tune the minute this guy says he's famous. I'm obviously on Zach Bryan's side in this interaction, but I do think it's ridiculous that only people in privileged positions can get away with this kind of behavior. If this was a person of color or somebody who wasn't famous, the likelihood that they would have been arrested for this is high, and the likelihood that they would have been harmed by this cop or even shot is not negligible. The policing system needs a serious overhaul, and it's time that people like Zach Bryan man up and actually speak out against it, instead of continuing to simp for an obviously broken institution, where if this were one of his fans, they could ultimately get hurt for behaving the same way that he did. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. If you like this video, be sure to check out others in my series Copaganda here, and don't forget to check out my weekly podcast, the Base Politics Podcast, here.